Welcome to 2 Cents Short of a Dollar, the show where we give our 2 cents and keep it 100. We're your hosts. That's Motiz, and I'm Rue. And guess what? Big surprise, we're not talking about boxing today. So today I want to talk about my favorite show on TV, and that's Severance. It's on Apple TV, so if you have an Apple TV subscription, please go check it out. But absolute banger, bro. And like I've just really been contemplating and sitting on Severance since the end of season 1. And I believe season 1, episode 9 was the finale. One of the greatest finales I've seen, bro. And it's just been on my brain, bro. I've been just waiting for Severance to come back. But now it's back. We got 2 episodes thus far of season 2. And just so far, what are your thoughts?
Not gonna lie, like I said, I was anticipating for this season to come out I felt like it was years. I've been waiting on this, right? But I remember when I first watched Severance, I was kind of like, let me see what this is about, right? And this is like shortly before our discussion, and I was like, it kind of wowed me. The concept is fire. Season 1 ended on a cliffhanger. We was just like, oh, what happens next? So just jumping into episode 1, I wanted to see where things left off, and they took kind of the angle of focusing on the innies, right? Is what they refer to them as. In the workplace, specifically focusing and honing in on Mark. So, just trying to see how he's traversing. It's really just seeing how much time has passed from season 1 to season 2. So many questions. Okay, some characters being involved. Who are these characters, especially with the 8-year-old manager? It's like, you're like, what's going on here, right? Where's Mark's friends? What is going on? Milkchick talking, giving them balloons. It was so much going on, but overall, my thoughts was kind of like, okay, it was, I guess, the appetizer before the appetizer, right? Just trying to assess the situation, see what's happening before things can kind of pick up. And then we go into episode 2. But just sticking with episode 1, my thoughts were it was an okay episode just to kind of ease us in, right? Nothing too crazy. But what do you think about episode 1 of season 2?
So here's the thing, right? I think so. This is a different watching experience for me because when I watched season 1, all the episodes were out by the time I got on to Severance. All the episodes, so I just binged it. This time I'm watching week to week, which feels different now because it's just like, okay, it's like you get a dish that's not enough. You go to an expensive restaurant, you eat, but you're just like, yo, that's it. You want more, you know what I'm saying? So it's a different watching experience. But I really enjoyed and appreciated the episode because it brought me back to Severance. I have so many questions, so many things I need answered. Your brain is just running, right? Like even like when you said how much time has passed, right? According to Milkshake, according to Milkshake, it's been 5 months. But when we start looking into this and seeing what's going on, it doesn't really seem like it's been 5 months. It seemed like he's kind of capping, right? Even the most minuscule of things, right? Like when he's at his computer screen, it still says Miss Cobell. Now, this is what I would imagine is a multi-billion-dollar tech company. And you're telling me you can't update the name on the computer, bro, in 5 months? Like, nah, I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that. You can't do that in 5 months. But then even think about when he brings in like the other crew, right? The fake crew, right? And think about when they show the scene of Mark entering the building back and forth. They only show us him entering the building 3 times. And granted, they can't show us him entering the building for 5 months, but I don't think it's been that many days. And I'm trying to stick to episode 1 here, but I'm just thinking of both of them. But I think it's only been like 2 or 3 days, bro. I think Milkcheck is capping, bro.
At that point in time, right? Yeah, it was a lot. It was just a lot, and you could see how Mark is desperate. Even the funny part was, he writes the letter. Milkchick is like, it's even in your own handwriting. He's like, I can't wait for you to see what I did to the kitchen. They start going to the kitchen. He runs like, oh, it's my friends. You can't do this to me. Like
I feel like that was like a double plot, right? Like he planted it. Like, okay, you guys are gonna know it's me because I'm making it too obvious, but that's not really the real diversion. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that was pretty interesting. But bro, the thing with Severance, bro, what I've learned is there's just so much hidden messages, right? So now, like when I'm watching it, like after I watch it, I'm Googling everything, right? Like I've even Googled like Kier, because Kier Egan, the founder, and Kier comes from the Latin meaning like dark, right? But then lumen means light, right? So it's almost like the darkness in the light, they contradict each other. So it's like it's in your face, but there's secrets. So what are the secrets that they're hiding? And one of the biggest secrets I want to know, I'm actually what you think is macro data refinement. You see them with the numbers on the computer putting into the box. What do you think they're doing? What is their job?
Yeah, yo, literally, and not to skip ahead, but episode 2 of season 2 was literally what I was, asking myself, because there's a particular scene that showed up, and I'm like, what are they doing? What This work seems to be so important that they're willing to jump through hoops, right? And I'm talking about Audie Helen, her father, right? Like the organization to kind of even bring Mark back in. And it's like, what are they doing? What do these numbers mean? Is it something that is this kind of an algorithm to kind of help produce a long-term effect of severance, right, across the globe, right, in terms of the consciousness, the unconsciousness, how to keep things running, right, that separation between the Audi and innies. I'm not sure, right, at this point. My guess is as good as anyone else's at this point. So
Yeah. I'm going to tell you what I think. But first thing is first. Another interesting point is they fire the whole team, but they don't fire Mark, who's
yeah,
also orchestrated on this. So other than
right.
being the main character in the show, why is he so important that he can't be fired? Yes, he leads the team, right? But this work that they're doing, like his work is even more important than the rest of his team's work. So what exactly is on his
I think,
plate? You know what I'm
to be
saying?
honest, I think it may have to do with, something with his wife, right?
Yep.
Something with
Mm-hmm.
him, the
Mm-hmm.
dynamic. There is
Yep.
something, there's a backstory there somehow, some way, and
Yeah.
it will be revealed. I just don't know what specifically it is, but
Yeah.
clearly something about Mark is, and then, like I said, now jumping into episode 2, we get more clues of why Mark is probably more, and maybe kind of, some obstacles that may come in the way, right? With some outies and innies, right? Like it's,
Yeah.
but yeah,
So
man. What do you think though? What do you think?
for their work, I think they're building people. I think they're creating people, right? So I think macro data refinement. I think what they're doing is they're building people and they're implanting the 4 tempers of Kier Egan, right? Which is woe, frolic, dread, and
Mhm,
malice, right? Those are like the 4 tempers. And I think they're building people and inputting these tempers. And I think they're
mhm.
doing something with their brain to like pass it along. I think ultimately I think this is a crazy plot ploy to try to revive Kier Egan, the founder of Lumen. Right now,
Mm.
I don't have the exacts or the details how they're going to do that, but I do think they're building people in some sense. And to go back to episode 1, which you mentioned, Miss Wong, the new supervisor who's in elementary school or whatever, at first I was just like, I'm like, did Mark and Miss Casey have a child? And I'm just like, no, that wouldn't make sense. The timeline wouldn't add up. And I'm just like, is
You're probably
this
thinking
is this a clone of Miss
of Miss
Casey?
Wong, Miss Casey.
Yeah,
Yeah.
is Miss Wong a clone of Miss Casey? And obviously, I'm not. Don't get on us. It's not about the ethnicity, right? It's not about that. It's just is it is it a clone? And then what I started thinking, and like I said, I'm always googling names after I watch Severance, right? So I'm looking up Wong. Does Wong
Mhm,
have any meaning? Yes, it means yellow, but it also means phoenix, right? So then I'm just
mhm,
like, okay, what does phoenix mean? So
mhm,
hold on, I wrote this down because I didn't want to get this wrong. So phoenix means a unique bird that has lived for 6 centuries in the Arabian desert. After this time, burning itself on a funeral pyre and rising from the ashes, which renewed youth to live through another cycle. So just the end right there with renewed youth to live through another cycle. So it's Miss Wong, the Phoenix, renewed version of Miss Casey, and is this another cycle, right? Is I don't know, like, do they start out small and rapidly age, and she's gonna turn into Miss Casey again, or is this just like a different version of Miss Casey? I don't know. That's just like where my mind went. You know what I'm saying? Like I
mhm.
said, I was just looking stuff up and what things mean, and that's where my mind went with that.
You know what's funny? Because when you mentioned, I was, it's crazy that you mentioned that, because just going into like even episode 2, right, where we get the perspectives of the Audis now, right? The perspective of the Audis, which was very, very interesting, right? Not jumping too far ahead, but it kind of made me think, especially with the new manager. I was like, okay. And then kind of the correlation is missing wife, but his wife is there now in any. Then the moment where she kind of starts to descend, she goes into a floor that we never seen before, right? So then it kind of has us thinking like, what makes her so special? And then when I seen kind of the 8-year-old, I'm like, okay, they wouldn't just put any 8-year-old or 10-year-old in this environment. So there has to be something special with this specific case. And then, of course, I'm not gonna lie, because of the Asian descent, I just automatically tied it to, oh, maybe she's somehow biologically related to, Miss Wong. So it's crazy that you mentioned that, because I was thinking about that, but I'm like, but how would they do it? But there's definitely a correlation of the two most important figures is definitely Mark and his wife. That's what
right. And speaking of Mark and his wife, so right now I'm going to address her by Gemma, her name on the outside. In episode 2, he says how he says he was called in to identify her dead body after the car accident. So if he identified her dead body, how did he then see her on the inside? We all saw her, right? So that's why I'm saying, like, they're like making people, or they bringing
maybe
people
just
back
splitting. Yeah, maybe she's because I don't think she probably died, or maybe like you said, your theory seems to start to pan out, right? Revive someone in some capacity, right? Or maybe she's like in a hospital coma. She's not fully revived, but they somehow can like split her consciousness, but only in any form, right? It can be a bunch of different things, but yes, it begs so many questions when he said he's seen her body, but or maybe they somehow was involved in some type of, or she was involved in something, and they somehow replicated her body and kept her alive body somewhere else, right? It's just so much, but it definitely has us asking a lot more questions. And also, I want to ask you this, not to kind of just pivot too far off, right? But what do you think Haley, right? Or Hallie, is it Hallie?
Heliar.
Helly. Where do you think Helly plays a role in all this, right? Because if you notice that scene where she sees her Innie kissing Mark, it kind of sets her back, where she's like, and she rewinds it. Do you think that will play a role come later this season? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I actually thought about that scene, right? Because she was very interested in that clip, but I think it was more than the romance, right? I don't think she was just like, oh, why am I having a relationship with this guy, right? I think she's looking at it, and I think she's almost contemplating how much of a liability her innie is, right? She's thinking how much of a liability her innie is, because complete transparency. I don't think Helly R went back to the severed floor. I think that was Helena. I don't think they turned her severed chip back on when she went back to the floor, right? Because like, why would she lie about what she saw on the outside? Why was she
100%.
struggling to turn on her computer when she's been working there for how long now, right?
And why would she, and sorry to cut you off, why would she be so okay with looking for Mark's wife in the inside, right? And kind of like, I'm pushing like, oh, you should, like, you know what I mean? But go ahead.
Yeah, I think she's contemplating how much of a liability her innie is, but she's also aware of whatever the deeper meaning is with Mark, right? And I don't know like why he's so important. Like I said, outside of being the main character, but like I said, everyone was fired but him. So I think she's contemplating his bigger purpose, and is it being potentially like tarnished by the relationship with Helly R? Because obviously him and Miss Casey, they need something. I don't know if they want to see if a deep enough emotional connection can break the severance, but whatever it is that they have to plan with Miss Casey and whatever role Mark plays in that, I think Helena was looking at Heliar like, you're just like a big hindrance to this entire thing. You're such a liability. And I think in her head, she's just like, I'm not letting you get back to that separate floor, because really, Helly is the most dangerous. This all started because of her. She was just not with it all jump, bro.
But you know what's crazy, right? Because let's say that is the severance form of Helly, right? I think she can also play a detrimental part in affecting Mark in a way, right? Because now let's say she is the Severance version, right? And she did actually lie to prevent the others from kind of looking down on her, like, oh, your
Mhm.
Audi was responsible for all
Yeah,
of this. Even I don't think they would react that way, but she's like, oh, I don't want to tell them. You know what I mean? And let's say, right, she's like holding on to this, and she's like, all right, you know what? I want to help you find your wife, Mark. But deep down, there's brooding jealousy that can actually hinder, you know,
mhm.
Mark looking for his original wife, his Audi's wife, right? Like she can end up being a cog in the wheel for the good guys later on in the story. You know what I mean? And it could probably
Yeah,
prove to be more dynamic in the storytelling if they do it right. But I do prefer, Helly not being severed and trying to infiltrate and figure things
yeah,
out, and then maybe turning not necessarily heel, but the opposite, right? Of turning and more so probably seeing the error her ways towards the end. Maybe they may take that approach, but
yeah. And
yeah.
then one other thing I noticed, and I'm sure they did this on purpose to kind of just mess with our brains, but when his team actually came back and they were all going through the elevator, you see them go through and you hear the ding, which is almost like, saying like, okay, now you're being severed, you're about to go on the work floor. But now
Mhm.
when they showed Helena going in, they purposely didn't give us all the same angles, right? We never heard that elevator ding. It was I feel like it
That's
was
a good
almost
point.
representing that, she did not flip to Heliar and go back in there. You know what I mean? Even when the guy, I don't know, he's big guy, he's like the muscle. He was sitting at the end of the table when she was talking about Miss Cobell, and I want to talk about that conversation as well with Miss Cobell. Like, and even when he was just like, yeah, like something like you going back down there, she gave him a look. It's almost like they discussed it previously if Helena would return or if Heliar would return. I felt like they
Mhm.
discussed it previously, but I want to ask you this. Miss Cobell said, like you guys are doing this to me because you fear me. And
Yep.
Helena said, whoa, 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 we fear no one. But you know what I'm saying? But why do you think Miss Cobell believes they fear her?
They fear her because she knows a lot about the organization, one. And then also because she's so much of a wild card and her deep interest when it comes to Mark. You can see like Mark, for some reason, kind of like even in the scene with her in the drive, like driving away, and Mark is there, and she's like, you could see her battling like this internal battle of wanting to reveal everything she
Mhm.
knows to Mark, but not necessarily. She gives him a hint, but she just kind of ultimately just drives off. Ultimately, I think she's so much of a wild card that it's just. I think the show is showing the impact of what relationships can do to your consciousness, regardless of whether or not
Yeah.
you're severed or not. You know what I mean? So, and I think they kind of know that. They're like, yeah, she's too volatile. We need to find a way to kind of monitor her and control her. You know what I mean? As opposed to having her run loose. So,
Yeah.
what do you
Yeah.
think?
So my theory is kind of crazy, right? So I
Yeah.
think Miss Cobell, in some form or fashion, is she's related to the Egans. Like
Okay.
I think she's like the Jon Snow. Like
Okay.
like in Game of Thrones, you know how he was like, what was he like? I guess maybe like a half, like he was like their half brother, right? Jon Snow wasn't like he
He
like
was in full Targaryen. He was part
you
Targaryen.
like so he wasn't supposed to like be king because so I think she's saying they fear her because of yes the knowledge that she knows. Yes, she's volatile, but I think like they won't. Maybe I think they'll kill anybody, but I think some way somehow she's related to this family, and she was supposed to be next in line, but for some reason it's Helena,
Hmm.
and I don't know why. But like I said, I think it's like a Jon Snow kind of thing where maybe you're not fully related to us. Maybe you're just I don't know half related to us. So they said, all right, your bloodline isn't pure Egan. So we're gonna go to the next person, but we're gonna keep you close. We're gonna make you a manager around this whole thing. But now you start, what I'm saying, start getting a little shaky because there's something deeper with Mark, right? Because Miss Cobell or on the outside Harmony, the way she looks at Mark, why does she have to live next to Mark? We haven't seen everybody else's neighbors, but why does she need to live next to Mark? It's probably whatever importance Helena sees when she's looking at the video and looking at Mark. So he's some major key to everything. you know, in my suspicion to bring Kier Egan back, right? But he's a major key. So
What? Sorry to cut you off, but what happens if Mark is Kier Egan, right, in just a different form,
I
right?
mean, hey, maybe they pass the brain down to Mark, and
But
then
then, it wouldn't make sense because then it's like, okay, what about his past life and how he got married, right, or whatnot? But yeah,
yeah. Well,
yeah, it's
maybe
probably
they have to properly do the macro data refinement to trigger the brain to flip back to Kier Egan.
yeah,
You know what I'm
probably
saying?
use him.
So
I'll probably use him as the host, probably. Who
like
knows?
he's like the host, and they're using the macro data refinement to re-put those tempers in properly, and like Kier Egan's brain will then reactivate to Kier Egan inside Mark's body as the host. I don't know.
Probably.
That's a far out theory, right? But nevertheless, I do think, like, obviously there's something more important about Mark. I think Harmony, Miss Cobell, I think it's more so than just I have secrets. Everybody has secrets, and if they stop working here, because Milchek obviously isn't severed, and yes, he's super loyal, right? But so was Miss Cobell. She has like a
Yep.
shrine of Kier Egan in her house. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So there's something deeper why she thinks they fear her, something she knows, and I don't
Yeah,
know, bro.
that's the only reason why I was like, maybe Mark is connected because the same obsession she has with Kier Egan, it's kind of like she have an obsession with Mark as well, which is kind of weird. So why would she have that obsession with Mark, and why is Mark? You know what I mean? So it's like it's some type of relation maybe between Mark and. But we will see. We'll see. We'll see how because they would have to jump through hoops to line that together. So
man, and
Mark is important somehow.
I don't doubt they can jump through those hoops, but like I said, I'm not trying to leak every spoiler here, break down everything. There's other YouTube channels for that. I think what's that channel I watch? Like Heavy Spoilers or something. I don't know if they're doing Severance, but when I watch something and I'm done with it, my brain's just spinning, I go to that channel. But this was just our review on episode 1 and 2 of Severance. Episode 3 is coming out Friday. We'll do a review of that one as well. But make sure you guys jump in the comment section. Tell us what you think. What are some of the theories that you have? Do you think we're crazy? Do you think we're on to something? So make sure you guys like and subscribe. 2 cents short of $1.